Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
First, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. Question, you folks just came off a rather extensive tour, am I right?
Yeah.
North American tour or just the States?
Just the States.
Okay, you want to talk a little bit about that? Now
Yeah.
the year's almost over here, and then you're going to Florida at the end of this month, is that correct?
Florida end of the month. A little bit of a whirlwind preparing for it.
Okay.
And then when you're in it, it's one thing, and then you're home. It's been a weird past like 3-4 months
Because it was going so fast? Travel?
Yeah, fast and slow at the same time. When you're out there, you kind of feel like your feet are in cement. But when you know, then the next thing you know, it's last day, and it's a lot of. There's a whole. It's in my little experience in touring. It's like every weeks have feels.
Okay.
Like you go like first day out, you're just really overwhelmed. You got all this in front of you. You're excited,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you're really psyched about it, but. Then you get a couple days under your belt, you start to feel like you're getting into a rhythm.
Okay.
And then about midway, you'll hit a lull point, just like a down. Every tour, every band member that I've ever had any experience with, you'll just have a day that sticks with you. There's like a bad day,
All right.
or just a day that a challenging day. With like your state of mind or whatever, and then you get
Could be anything. Could be that performance that night, or sound that wasn't about right, or just anything in particular.
it's typically everything but that.
But the music.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's like what's going on at home,
Okay.
But it's been a really productive 3 months for the band, and we went through a lot together, and we're feeling pretty good about where we're at, but we're just trying to look forward too, because we know we're not where we want to be yet. We want to keep growing and climbing. But I'm just good. Like I'm in a total weird frame of mind right now because I've been home for 2 weeks, so I'm like just getting used. I got the itch. I'm just getting used to my bed. My wife's just getting used to bossing me around again, and
Just in time for you to head out again.
just in time for me to head out again. So that's about the past 18 months, so we're getting used to that too. But it's been good.
New album's been received well, and I want to thank you. This was very kind of you.
Yeah, I
guess I got to buy a new turntable. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
my mother taught me you don't show up empty-handed.
Well, we're gonna.
Neither did you.
No, no. We got some single malt
Appreciate
going
you.
on. We got some absolutely. And I was reaching out to Clinton, and I was very happy that he agreed to do the show. And first thing I said is we kind of drink a little on this show. And I said, so pick your poison. And I've never had anybody say this to me. He goes, dealer's choice. So tonight we've got whiskey. We have we have whiskey. We have also some Crown Apple.
Yeah.
Gotta stay away from that stuff. And we have some Michelob. I'm trying this out. It's organic light beer.
No, I'm super good with it because I'm dieting, so this is good. This is
low carbs, right?
yeah. It's like it never happened.
How's the dieting work on the road?
Terribly.
I would imagine.
The toughest stretch was through Lent. I gave up all meat for an entire thing of Lent. It's not that I'm like a super religious person. I like to do it for. I mean, I am religious, but I did Lent for the experience, just to say I could,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And on the road, it's just you better like Subway. Or like
that bad, huh?
It's terrible. It was the worst. I'll never do that again on the road. But dieting it's rough too. It's just like a lot of temptation. I mean, every stop you make, there's nothing but Wendy's. But you can find a way.
Most venues pretty good with the catering.
Most are.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a hit or miss game.
Yeah, I bet.
Sometimes it's so great to be pleasantly surprised. You'll walk into certain venues and it'll be like just this amazing food with a huge layout and a laundromat and a shower. And then some venues you'll usually like the iconic older ones with that are kind of built in, you'll go in and it's just like, all right, you get that little room over there, we'll put some water next to the stage.
I had some other artists that played like places like, is it Ram's Head or the Ram in Baltimore?
Ram's Head Live.
Ram's Head. Yeah,
I've never actually played there, but I know of it.
But there's all these little iconic, maybe 400 to 1,200 seat, venues / bars, depending on quite how big it is, and each one has their own legends of how they treat the band. Sometimes phenomenal, sometimes pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have that. Some of the ones catch you off guard.
Okay.
We played this one gig in down in West Virginia, down in the hills, and the name of the town's gonna escape me.
That's okay.
But I'll never forget the name of the venue because it was some of our favorite people
Right.
that we came across. We get there, and the venue's called El Gran Sabor.
Okay.
And it's a small club. It's a great club. The room's great. Think kind of club cafe size.
Okay.
Vibe.
Okay.
But the owner's wife is Cuban. She's making all this authentic, beautiful Cuban cuisine and cooking for the band. And there's a huge family atmosphere, and they're just the kindest, nicest people. And that just in when you're down in certain places where you might, middle West Virginia, what do you know about it? And then you get down there and it's just like the nicest, best people, and you get not only get friendship out of it, you get this family meal that's just like outstanding. It's just like it kind of sets you right if you've been out for a little bit,
I bet. Now you're touring with a good amount of people here. You got a big band.
Yeah.
Is the current lineup been rather consistent for a good period of time, at least a year or so? Because I know obviously all bands have trouble keeping consistent lineups, and especially the more people you add, the more chance for inconsistency there is. But the lineup's been pretty straightforward and pretty consistent for a period of time.
We're at about 2 years. I gotta say before I forget, Elkins, West Virginia.
Elkins.
I didn't forget about you, Elkins.
How could you forget about Elkins?
No, but the band went through a lot of turnover early.
Okay.
There was only 5 of us when we started.
Okay.
And then we'll
added. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But the turnover has been. It was a little tough early, especially as we expanded to travel more.
Okay.
Some people.
Commitment.
Yeah, and it's nothing that I don't hold it against anybody that that was honest with me about their intentions.
Sure.
When hey, all right, the band's doing this, and we're gonna start traveling a lot more. This ain't for me. I can't do this. All right, I get that. I appreciate you, and let's.
You'd rather have that up front.
Yeah. Let's have it up front, and we'll move on. And that's the way that's the model has always been.
Okay.
Calendars and honesty. We talk about it all the time.
Calendar is an honesty. Okay.
And you're just trying to work with people and keep relationships good and move forward. But all that said, the past 18 months, 2 years has been the same folks.
Okay.
And they are super dedicated and committed, and blows me away.
Well, I've heard Randy went on DVE. Been championing you folks, and they do a lot of local music. Randy does a lot of local music too.
Oh yeah.
But I've heard your stuff played on his show, and he's a friend, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a great guy. Been a friend of the band. Definitely speaking, everything he does for local music, he's championing it. He's bringing it along, and he's doing what he can for the city that he's in, and it's growing. It's grown us a lot. It's helped us a lot. Get to people's ears that we wouldn't be able to without him, and there's nothing but positive about what he does with his show for the music here.
Talk a little bit about Pittsburgh's music scene. Now, it's easy because you hear all the negatives. You hear it constantly, and I hear it in every genre. From we talk about. I had Billy Price in. I've had on the countryside. I've had the guts of Poverty Neck Hillbillies in here, the Hillbilly Way, and I've had Frank Vieira. I've had plenty of artists in who talk about the disappointment at times with not the people of Pittsburgh, the music fans of Pittsburgh, but the way the whole music scene is kind of run, the inability sometimes to get solid gigs and so forth. Now, you folks have obviously superseded that. You've gone beyond the town, but during when you building your brand, building your band as well, did you stumble on any of that? Were there frustrations at time in Pittsburgh?
I think, and I'm not speaking for a lot of my peers, and Billy Price, and I love a lot of those guys, and I don't know if it's the scene that's frustrating. I think it's the nature of the business we're in that can be frustrating. And,
okay.
Nobody's pulling the strings on the Pittsburgh scene. It's really, you can only control what you do. And I can only speak for myself, but when I came up through the city, it's just hard to be a young local band anywhere in the world, not just here. But you can't get, me personally, I don't really get caught up in it. I just appreciate the relationships that I have with my peers and people here. And I speak highly of it because I feel highly about it. Every relationship I forged here is important, from the open mics that I went to when I first got out of college to, playing AE a few weeks back. And, every handshake, every musician, every person in Pittsburgh I appreciate. And I know that there's some negativity, but what I've kind of learned from, that's just everywhere.
Yeah. It's not parochial to Pittsburgh.
It's the business.
Right.
It's tough.
Right.
It's hard to be a musician. It's hard to be a young musician. And you're looking for people, you're looking to, I don't want to say place blame, because it's not necessarily anything wrong, but I think people get frustrated because it's hard, and it's not deeper than that, but I think it's kind of universal. It's a hard job. It's a hard dream.
Sure.
And you just got to appreciate the relationships around you and push through that.
In working with some national artists in the guitar business years ago, you'd sit around, usually after trade shows, and you'd listen to stories. And they'd all have stories. And they would echo kind of what you're saying, how it was in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s, that it was hard. It was hard. This was hard, but it was fun. But I think their challenges were a little bit different probably than what you're dealing with today, only that there was money for the record companies back then, and promotion companies. There was money to invest in bands and take a chance on bands and see if they could have that marketing. And now, I guess it's still there, but it's very narrow. And would you not agree that a band really's got to go out and prove that they've got the oats, and also be mindful of their own marketing as well too? Would you not agree?
I do agree. It's definitely different eras. I don't have any experience with back then, but it almost is like a little, I think it's easier to love your fellow musician now and have a friendship there, as opposed to back then when you were competing for contracts. Not that bands aren't competing today, but I think the levels have totally shifted.
Is there more of a feeling of everybody's in it together?
I feel that way.
Yeah.
When I do, when I do the local, Randy Bauman puts on this great local event called the Ramble, and when we get together with all, a whole bunch of local musicians, it's kind of like a mini high school reunion, and we're just all cheering for each other and psyched to be around each other.
It's great though, isn't it?
It's really good, and that part of it's really beautiful. As opposed, not having experience with back then, but just from things I've heard, and it was a little more people at each other because they felt like they were competing for opportunities, and I just don't really feel that today.
I would think also the current environment, I know it's easy for some bands to express frustration and the money not being there and harder to make a living playing music. I get all of that. But would you not agree also that there's more organic goodness now in music because you are all in it together, and you are out there promoting yourselves, promoting each other, putting festivals, putting shows together. The artist has to take more, I guess responsibility is the tough word to use, but it's true about where direction your band's going, because upper management of some record company is not as widely available as it probably was decades ago.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Also, Pittsburgh's super two-sided when you come to how, when you talk about working musicians versus musicians who are trying to, have an original project, because there is an kind of I wouldn't say, some people might say the Pittsburgh music scene, and that's one thing. I would say that scene is original artists trying to create, which is beautiful.
Right.
But then there's another reality here where there are working musicians here. There are, there are jazz clubs functioning 7 nights a week in town.
Absolutely.
There are, for hire cover bands working all the time. There are jobs here for musicians to have and work locally and live. Now they're not hanging off trees, and but it's really the first group that I was talking about that are having the harder time getting their footing. They're having a place for original music to come up, and that's a challenge that's kind of everywhere. But I think that it comes in waves, and it's being built now still.
Okay. The name, the Commonheart. Give me some history on this band. Let's talk about it. Was it your original idea? Did the band come from your idea?
Yeah. I was so me and my drummer Sean McGregor, we were in a band called Backstabbing Good People, and
Backstabbing Good People.
Yep.
A little oxymoron there, huh?
Oh yeah. And then that band, half of that band was another local band called Recluse.
Okay.
Great group, Max Somerville, and it just kind of naturally came to a point where Max was a star of his own right. He was no sidecar to me. He was writing his own stuff, and we were just kind of like, all right, this band's gonna split ways, and Sean and I were like, hey, let's build something around. Let's just build something around your voice, and let's go play some stuff like we grew up on, some older, more retro rock and kind of gravelly soul and blues,
Okay, give me an idea of the sound list early on. Sound list, playlist early on.
Early on, we had, I had a handful of original tunes.
Okay.
And we were doing covers like J.D. McPherson, and we were doing some Otis Redding. But we'd mix in like weird versions of like Pink Floyd tunes. We were pretty open to anything.
So there was a little bit of eclectic music there?
Yeah, we did like Marvin Gaye.
Oh, right on.
And we do, it was a little bit all over the place. But we kind of did it in a way that was, felt our sound forming. And then, we went and did, I remember like when our first big shows, we did this Bill Withers tune called I Can't Write Life Handed, which is like a great song. And for that show, we added background singers and we added horns, and
was it the first time?
That was the first time. Yeah,
you're up there playing, and it's just, you obviously rehearsed it, but then you're up there live playing it.
Yeah.
With that for the first time, did you act? Was that a light bulb moment? Like, this is something here?
Yeah, it was like I was like I don't think I can unhear that I need this. I like a big band.
Okay.
I was hooked.
Okay.
I'll deal with the less money. Let's just have a great sounding band.
Yeah.
Just kind of build it from there.
Okay, so did that? You could pretty much say that all kind of happened organically.
It did, and then as the project progressed, it just kept just being that way. I'd start writing songs different, writing horn parts or writing vocal parts or working with the musicians building those parts, and it just kind of felt really natural. And it got a big response too. People, it's not normal to see a band that size.
It's very powerful.
It's very powerful.
It's a powerful performance.
A lot of sound.
A lot coming at you, especially in a small venue. Which is great. Which is something you just don't see all the time.
Right. And I think we all picked up on that and just started to run with it.
Okay. The name, the Commonheart. Where did that coming from? Was there alcohol involved?
Well, typically. It was actually the pressure of a gig. Our first gig.
Okay.
The promoter at the Rex Theater we were opening for the New Orleans Suspects, which are still one of my favorite groups and favorite venues. We were going to open up the show, and we didn't have a band name.
Okay.
And the promoter was like, "You need a band name." So we were talking about, being from Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth was on the table. We're like, "Oh, you're going to be a Commonwealth? That's a cool name. It represents our state." We're like, "That's cool." but just something wasn't sitting right about it. And then somebody just randomly said, "What about the Commonheart?" And then we were like, "That sounds right. Let's just send it." Because at the time we didn't really know what the band was going to be, so we sent. It was the Commonheart, and then about a weekend we all kind of felt really good about it. We're like, "That's a pretty cool name. We're gonna ride with that. That'll work."
So it was that simple.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that's surprising to me, only because that name absolutely fits you folks.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah. I looking back on it, it's crazy to think how out of nowhere it came and how much it suits us.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, but I felt really good about it over time, still today. But it's weird, I've been in a handful of other bands and you put a ton of time into the name, and then 2 weeks later been like, no.
What kind of drunk was I on that night?
No, not that name. Not that name.
So was there any, and I always like to ask my guests this too, because I think this is really a big part of the human experience. Was there any point or multiple points you can look back in your tenure with this band that organically came from you, the idea of it anyways, with lots of moving and lots of contributions since, but just the idea of it. Was there any really turning points or like that a moment that was a spark you can look back and say, wow, something's happening here, or something is really amazing, or was it more of a kind of a gradual build?
No, I know the day when we opened up for Gary Clark Jr. at Stage AE, that everything about the band changed that day, because we had never...
That was the festival, right?
No, he was just Gary Clark Jr. was headlining at Stage AE.
Right.
And a good friend of mine, Tim Gaber, who runs Pittsburgh Winery.
Oh my gosh.
You know Tim?
I know Tim very well. I did not know we were mutual friends.
He called me.
Buzz Poets.
Yep.
Yeah, original bass player of the Buzz Poets.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell some stories, Tim.
He sent me a text or called me and was like, "Hey, I kind of found out through the grapevine that Gary Clark doesn't have an opener tomorrow and he's looking for one."
Oh, right on.
And we had played some local stuff, and had a little buzz around town going. And we were like, "Oh, well," I was like, "Yeah, 100%." And then the next in an hour, my phone rang, Austin, Texas. And it was...
How about that?
Gary Clark Jr.'s tour manager.
Wow.
And he was super nice. And he's like, "Hey, we're looking for an opener for tomorrow's show. Are you guys in?" "Cool, we're in. See you there." Went, and really, from the business side of it, that's a WYEP show. Mm-hmm. That's a huge blues soul act.
No question.
Put us in front of 2,500 of our direct demographic, right? And we went up.
The businessman over here.
And we went up and we did our thing. And a month later, sold out our Mr. Smalls record release show. A direct result from that. And that is definitely the point.
Okay.
That was definitely the point. There was no... You can't pay for that kind of opportunity to get in front of, that amount of people that are into what you do. Those were our people. WYP blues and soul listeners. You better kick that one out of the park. And I feel we did, and that's kind of brings us to where we are.
Yeah. So, Mr. Gaber, good deal. Where do I go from here? There's so many avenues. I got so many questions for you. Just better keep drinking. After that show, and you're all collectively in that, I'm trying to take you back to that after show, and you're sitting there looking at each other. Mm-hmm. Did everybody kind of feel it? Did everybody kind of was there a moment where you're looking around at your bandmates and like?
No, we felt good. We didn't know what we felt, or we didn't. We're like, it certainly wasn't like, It was just like a. Yeah.
It was a great show. It was a great show.
Just felt good. We were just living in that moment.
Okay.
Just enjoying that moment. It was just a good feeling, just because I think we all kind of knew that was that we were very fortunate, very fortunate. And there was still a lot of hard work to come after that, but we were fortunate for that opportunity, and lucky. It just felt real, that was probably... There was a lot of pressure there because we just felt we knew. I think some of us knew kind of what was on the table to have a nice big progression for the band.
Okay.
You know,
your first recording effort was in 16. Is that correct? The date right? Was it 15?
Yep, November in 16.
And then you're quoted as saying that you kind of turned the tables upside down when you went to record this latest effort.
Yep.
You went to a studio, sequestered yourself away for a week, and kind of force yourself to make this record, as opposed to maybe having a looser recording environment prior. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. What do you prefer? Now you've done both.
I'd want to, if I could live in a place for a month, that's what I'd prefer. Now, I can't afford to do that. But no, definitely. I mean, we had a great time making our first record, and I'm proud of that record.
Oh yeah.
But it was very, get in a couple hours here, get in a couple hours there.
Kind of hodgepodge together.
And we were, living local.
Sure.
Working in a great local studio with a great local producer, and all that was positive. But to be in a spot for, a week and a half, 2 weeks, kind of 14-hour days, you're just away from home, which is an important element.
Less distractions.
You gotta kind of turn off the family, whatever you need to turn off, work, and that's not easy for any young adult to do, but it really kind of turns the page of being really focused in, and I definitely prefer that, and I think that's part of the reason why the new record sounds the way it does.
Well, it's still a lot of recorded material to get down, even in 10, 14 days. That's still a lot.
Yeah, and we just about finished it there.
Okay.
During that time.
Okay.
We did go and kind of do some like vocal edits at a different studio later, but yeah, for the most part, it was all in that stretch. And what was also nice is during that stretch we had like different sections in and out. So like the horns and background singers, they didn't come for the first week,
right?
But then they came in the later days.
I think fans would be so surprised. The fans of music they really got a really glimpse into how the recording process happens. I think most fans think, the band just goes in there and they sit there and they crank it out, and it's all recorded and it's one take and they're done.
That is not the case.
Not the case at all, huh?
I mean, it would be cool if it was.
Yeah.
Greats, some of the greats did it like that.
No question about it.
But,
no question.
Yeah, it's a little different thing now, but every experience is different.
What are your thoughts on you folks at some point in time doing a live record? I mean, a professionally produced live record, whether it's a accumulation of a couple dates, and you mix them together, or it's one event.
Yeah.
Good and bad, just put it out there and just do it. Because you really, my interpretation, look, the audio is, first off, the new album is tremendous.
Thank you.
It is absolutely, and not to pander here on this show, but I will tell you, it's great that you're here, Clinton, but that album, and I'm telling you, sir, is tremendous. It's got a high production value, in my opinion. It's also powerful. The power of your band comes through on it, but there's still something, I hate to use that word again, organically brilliant about your live performance. It's so powerful. If there would be a way to encapsulate that on tape, that would be, to me, as a fan of your music, would be amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. That is something we discussed at length, because it is very evident, but that our album is different than our live show. There's, but I think that's okay. I think it adds to the live show that it's special. And
Understood.
To answer your original question, I would totally do a live record, and that would be a blast. I'm not sure it would come through the same way Being There would.
Okay. Oh no, I agree with that.
I don't think anything.
Give him a taste, though.
I mean, we would see. I'm not. I mean, I'm down, but
he's for it.
I'm still a believer that the live show is a special place, and even like some of the most iconic records of all time, there's live records that are great.
Yeah.
And
some that are not.
Some that are not, but I bet if you were in the Fillmore when the Allman Brothers recorded that record, that you'd have a different story to tell than me listening to that record.
Think about how magical that recording is, even for how dated it. I mean, dated in terms of the technology. Then it wasn't what it is today.
Yeah.
But that's a good. And we're going to talk about your influences here in a second. I'm going to take you back, and I'm going to try to find out where all this came from, because it came from someplace.
Oh yeah.
But before we do that, is it still amazing for you to play live as it was the very first couple times you did? Do you still have the same feeling? I understand when you tour, some days you feel great and some days you don't. There's colds, there's lack of sleep. I get all of that. So I don't expect you to feel great physically every performance. Yeah. But do you still have the same kind of, I don't know, the same kind of energy, the same kind of cool factor that you had when you started playing out?
Yeah, 100%. Same. It's the same.
You folks are a live act to me.
Yeah, we are.
You know,
I agree. It's every time's better for me. I love every show and the growth of the band, because it's something that I've seen firsthand through its whole existence, and every show we get better. You know, and not to say that, you know, yeah, some days you might not, you know, you might feel a certain kind of way or be having a hard day, but every show just gives me belief in what I'm doing.
Okay.
The message I'm delivering, the band, it's like a whole emotional thing for me, and it like lifts me back up every day. So I really feel strongly about like every show, every day.
Okay.
Or every performance. Plus it, like, especially when you're gone, if you're traveling a little bit, the shows cure everything.
The shows cure everything.
Oh yeah. The toughest days on the road are days off.
Okay.
You got to drive 8 hours and you ain't got a show to get out of the van and get moving on. It's gonna be a tough night's sleep.
Okay.
But when you put 8 hours in the van, you get out and you get to go emote and cry and sweat and do your thing that you love the most, you can get back in that van feeling a little better, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an important thing. So the shows, no matter how you might be feeling that day, and you know, colds, sore,
right.
The show can bring you back. Adrenaline is a hell of a drug.
No doubt, no doubt about it. How much ad-libbing goes on in your shows? Like, I would think with so many components, so many moving parts in this band, which is fascinating to me. There's just so much going on at one time, that it must be pretty awesome to look over and see, and see the horns doing something and then adding a little, and then seeing your fellow vocalist doing something and she's adding a little, and just the drums. I mean, that's why musicians say they get off on live performances, because it's all there. But you got more of it.
Yeah, well,
right? I mean, you have more
I think
of
it comes off. I think it
you.
comes off that way.
Okay.
There's less improvisation than you think.
Really?
That show's pretty.
You're tight.
That show's pretty mapped out.
Okay.
Not like, no, I'm not talking about note for note guitar solos or
Yeah.
Solos are solos, and people have those features, but the
structure of the song.
The structure of the song is super mapped.
Okay.
And it's that's taken, that's something we've worked towards.
So that's a purposeful decision.
Yeah, very purposeful. I mean, sometimes something natural happens that feels right.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And important.
And vocalists have that all the time.
Vocalists have that.
So do guitar players.
Yes. Guitar players. And that's beautiful, and we don't shy away from that. But the general, start to finish of the set is probably a little more mapped out than it comes off.
Interesting.
There's some things that are discussed and done, just from where we're standing, imagery, walking off a stage, walking on a stage, like things like that, timing of that, different. Because the one thing that I love about this band is there is a lot of us, but through a show, I feel like a fan gets to see a little bit from everybody.
Okay.
We're conscious of features.
Yeah, absolutely.
While Minda is such a badass, and we have a lot of great guitar work in our band. We try not to go too guitar heavy in a set. We'll be like, we just try the map of how we put the light on him is talked about a lot, and it's actually it's really fun to paint that whole picture.
The texture of it all. Too.
Yeah. And I've grown, and I wasn't always like that.
Okay.
I've gotten really into that more recently since, when we went toured with J.J. Gray and Mofro and watching those guys. We did 20 dates with those guys in a row, and to watch their set was so dynamically perfect for me. It was just perfectly mapped of like big entrance. Take it down a little bit. Let's go to church for a minute. I'm going to talk to him. Back up. Big sing-along song. The
lows and the crescendos.
JJ sits down with the dobro. Like,
I get it.
That's exploring, writing a set has become, in the past few years, has become one of my favorite things about playing live.
Okay. And that's... It's because this last album especially is very articulate in the way each piece is put together, like volumes with the swells. Everything is really in its place. Yeah, I can tell there's a lot of thought going on about in the production end of it.
Yeah,
about prominence and diffusion. I think it's all kind of just put together well. Do you echo that? And it's kind of a deep question, but do you echo the studio recording and all of that when you play live, or is there more latitude where you can explore?
There's more latitude, but it does echo the general theme of kind of up and down.
Okay.
And songs going into other songs, and feels like that. I think we try to echo that, but definitely more. We definitely are a little more explorative and work different transitions to present songs differently. But I would say that the album is in the end, it kind of became our set.
Okay. That's positive.
Yeah. And a lot of our set is kind of in order.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, it kind of became that, with obviously certain turns and different things that we opened up on, did some things differently. But I think that it just the album played well, and a lot of the feedback we got was that the album played well as a whole. So we just kind of naturally started to do it that way.
Talk to me a little bit about your childhood.
Oh, I'm gonna have another drink.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for sure. You're ready for another beer over there? You're definitely ready for another whiskey.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna have you give me a bump as well too.
Okay, there we go.
That's what we do here.
I like it.
No, bump, I mean like put something in there for me.
Oh, I have the bottle.
There's an American bump and there's a Canadian bump. When the Canadians ask for a bump, they want more liquor.
Oh, okay.
When Americans ask for a bump, they want to hit glasses.
Okay, I got you.
I only know that because I got a bunch of Canadian relatives.
I forgot I had the bottle.
You had the bottle, my friend.
Thank
you. It's perfect.
Bump myself here too. Yeah, man. I had a great childhood. I grew up in Monongahela, Pennsylvania. Went to
Mon Valley kid, huh?
Mon Valley kid.
Right on.
Went to Ringgold High School.
Good for you.
And loved
a lot of friends down that way.
Oh yeah, they're great people down there. I loved growing up there. Look back on that fondly. I still have a lot of good friends and family down there.
What was childhood like? You a sports fan?
Oh yeah.
When you were a kid?
Oh yeah. I always joke I was conceived in Memphis, but I was born in Bethlehem. No, that's some blues lyrics, but it's actually true.
Okay.
No, my folks were living down in Memphis, Tennessee. My dad had a job down there.
Okay.
During the '70s Steelers. So there's this old photo in my house of my family and all their Steeler gear on their front lawn in Tennessee. And I was just a baby bump at the time.
Got it.
And then my dad took another job in Bethlehem. And then when I was 1, they went back to where, because my mom and dad are both originally Mon Valley.
Okay.
My mom's.
Was your dad in the steel business?
He was not.
Okay.
Was not.
I only guessed that because Bethlehem was huge in steel. And
yeah, he worked for IBM back in the day.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And when they went back, my dad's originally from Denora, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And my mom's from Monongahela.
Okay.
So ultimately, when I got to be like 11, 12 years old, they went back to the valley. And then my mom and dad split up.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of went and stayed rogue with some sisters through the years. And then eventually my mom got a house. I moved in with her, and that's where I finished out high school. And then worked in town for a little while, delivering pizzas, just not quite sure. And me and my best friend at the time were talking about what we were going to do because we'd been delivering pizzas and just being foolish early 20-year-olds in our hometown for a number of years. And then I said I was going to go to college, and he said he was going to go to the Navy. And I went to IUP.
No partying down there.
No, there's absolutely no partying at IUP. That's a very Christian school.
Very wholesome.
Very wholesome time there. And that's where I started. I met music there.
Right.
And then I also met my wife there. So IUP is very fond of.
Absolutely. I can see why.
Yeah, I got into my first band up there.
What was it? We'll talk about that. First band.
Yeah, first band. We were called Jazam.
Jazam? Okay, not like Shazam.
Jazam. Jazz AM.
Right on. Jazz AM. Okay.
And they were an established group. They were a 3-piece fusion group. Very little vocals, just slamming, awesome players, just killing it. And I was just in a bar one night, very surprisingly, and I went up and I sang.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I went up and I sang a Marvin Gaye tune with them.
Okay.
And because I was at the time,
in
I was
jazz
just,
improvisation band.
Well, it was
a Marvin Gaye tune.
They were with it. They were with it.
Right
and
on.
Then after the show, we were hanging, and just we're like, hey, how would you feel about doing some shows with us? We'll feature you on a couple tunes. I was like, that's great. And we had a great thing for a while. I did a record with those guys, and I'm still close with all of them today. Great people, and the challenge was I started to lose sight of my education. I started to lose sight of, I was traveling a lot. Mm-hmm. And I kind of stepped back. I told him, I got to step back for a little bit. I got to get out of here with a degree. Because it was a big deal for me to go to IUP. Like, my mom helped me a lot to get there. Mm-hmm. I wasn't, going to blow that off. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was invested.
What's your degree in?
Business tech support.
Business tech support.
Boring.
No, but you had that piece of paper.
I had that piece of paper. I got out of there and then got down to the city, and I did some volunteer work for a year, and then eventually got a decent job with the University of Pittsburgh, and now I'm just I still work for UPMC.
Okay.
Keeping me afloat, which I'm very thankful for. And it's been good. Childhood was normal kid stuff.
Well, let me ask about music. Like, when did the music thing hit you as a kid?
Church.
All right.
Yeah, my mom always had me as an altar boy in church, and she always played the organ.
I remember those days.
Yeah. And she was always the organ player.
Okay.
And then her sister was a very accomplished singer in the church. And then her other sister was a minister.
All right.
Now, they lived out of town at the time, but it was clear early on that there was music going on in my family. Always a piano playing, always something going on with church and music.
Got it.
Learning the songs for that week, what have you. And I always, I don't think then I really grasped, how great the influence I was getting was. Mm-hmm. Because then when I hit my teenage years, I kind of rebelled and got into some different things.
Like, well, musically?
Musically and personally, just, yeah.
Well, in the musical, when were you listening to?
Oh, man, I started with like a lot of like punk rock and metal. And then I started to get into a lot of rap and hip hop, which I was.
So you went on 180.
Well, no, it all
90s though,
it all stayed with me though.
Okay.
So it was like I was throwing on a Sex Pistols record, and
God bless you,
and like following up with a Dr. Dre record.
I get that. I get it. Well, yeah. There's some kind of weird amalgamation of like correctness in that, right?
Yeah, I think if you were a '90s kid, it would not be shocking for you to go from
correct,
Operation Ivy to the Wu-Tang Clan.
Absolutely.
That was not a surprise.
Because labels weren't a big part of the 90s. At least we didn't feel they were at that time.
Right.
Right.
But that was our label, right? It was like
anything goes.
Right.
Absolutely right. Okay.
So then I led me to like be in some bands where I was rapping more and
you were rapping.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of their stuff?
Nope.
I tried.
I don't remember any of that stuff.
I thought we'd get a verse or two out of them, but that's
There might
okay.
be some recordings somewhere. I'll have to unearth them.
Okay.
Nah, but then I just kind of started to sing in a very, like, the band was super heavy. We're doing like some heavy metal stuff.
Do tell.
Yeah, I loved it. We were called Our Day with Poverty.
Our Day with Poverty.
Our Date with Poverty.
Our Date with Poverty.
Yeah, we were just a fun garage band that sang about anything you could imagine. It was pretty
Influenced by, give me a theme. Did it sound like Metallica? Did it sound like Slayer? Did it sound like
trying to think.
Aerosmith, Rat, Poison, Bon Jovi?
No, definitely more like, it was kind of like
Tool?
No, it's kind of like System of a Down meets
right on.
meets like a little bit of like Gwar.
Gwar.
But not the theatric part, like musically.
Got it.
Like there was a metal vibe, but there was also
yeah.
a punk vibe, I feel.
Okay.
And then we covered like System of a Down and Pennywise and
Okay. Okay.
But some of the stuff was heavy.
You need to find some of those tapes, buddy.
Oh, it's out there. I'll share it with you later.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I can't share that stuff. Yes,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But ultimately kind of got away from music
All right.
after that and went to school and then everything kind of changed.
So did you do the screamo stuff? Like, I mean, I can't imagine you doing like the heavy core,
Oh no, I screamed.
like that kind of stuff.
Oh, I got
you
it.
had all that.
I got
on.
it in me.
I can't. Oh, I believe you can do it. I just, I got to get there mentally.
Right,
This
right.
is the same guy that's on that album over there.
Yeah, it was a different time.
Yeah, no question. And for someone like myself, and I've got some years on you, that stuff coming into the 90s was kind of abrasive. I mean, like, it's ironically for me, I'll share this with you, Clinton. I ended up working, one of my first guitar clients with Washburn, an artist that they gave me to work with was Dimebag Darrell of Pantera. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care for anything they were doing. It was that, because that early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like hardcore metal was so different than everything I'd ever grown up on, the 70s and 80s. So that was tough for me.
Yeah, my first guitar was a Dean.
That was my competition, by the way.
Didn't he sponsor Dean?
I was on the Washburn side. His original guitar was a Dean. Yes, it was.
His original was a Dean, but
And
then he got
he
the sponsorship.
And I was on the very tail end of that. I worked with him on many pieces on the very tail end, and then he was taken from us in 2004.
I know the
violently,
story. Yeah.
and after about, it's been, I'm sure the if you've watched prior podcasts, you know the story was basically he left Washburn, and we had a 6-month period to finish the guitars. And one of my 2 conversations with Dime was just, Eric, just make them as cool as you can do. So he made some really good stuff, and then he went to Dean, and then in I think it was December 4th or something of 2004, he was taken from us.
Yeah.
But a good soul.
Yeah, I
different
bet.
kind of music. I mean,
I was a huge Pantera fan.
Yeah,
We used to
yeah.
watch those home movies.
Walk and all that stuff. And the shame of it is that
Black Tooth Green.
Oh yeah, well that was his favorite drink, right? Yeah, I know. I'm aware. But that was a whole era of music, and I always wondered too, had Damage Plan continued, had that not happened, and there would have been a reunion and all that stuff. That might have actually spurred more of that early 90s music to come back, because I don't think it really had that revival, 20-year revival everybody talks about. Mm-hmm. I don't think it really didn't have that, to some of to a big degree anyways.
Right.
I don't know.
I think it kind of, I don't know, in some ways it did. Like, I'm a big believer that, and I mentioned this earlier too, music can be very circular, but your life typically isn't. So I think
Interesting.
I think that metal has had a resurgence in some ways, even recently. I mean, look at, didn't Five Finger Death Punch just announce that they're doing PPG?
That's impressive, because they were a small band when I was doing all this guitar stuff in the 2000s.
So that's what I'm saying.
Got it.
But we're different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
might not sit in our wheelhouse. Like, I might not go to that show.
Right.
But I definitely recognize what that band is and what they're doing, and I'm like, I think it's badass.
Yeah, and what they've done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the history is there. Yeah, no question. And like you said, that's the beauty of music. And it is cyclical. It does kind of come back. If the band members and those bands have the intestinal fortitude that got out the tough times.
Yeah.
and hang with it, it does kind of come back.
Yeah.
You know, to some degree, anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
So you went through this period where, because I'm trying to get there mentally between thinking about what you just described to me, your band was playing. and what
I was young, man. I was very
that's
young.
Okay. There's nothing right or wrong. It's just it's a real big turn.
It was, but you know, that was my whole. That I really learned how to be in a band with those guys, and those guys are still all my friends. You know.
Yeah.
We see each other not as often now, but when I see them around the holidays, and I just got to spend some time with a couple of them, and it's they really taught me how to be a band member, how to, you know, and just learned a lot of lessons from those guys. And while the music I'm doing now is so much different, I still deal with a lot of the same kind of things. You know, just, you know, we were younger, and there's different levels of everything, but
Sure.
Just, you know, respecting your bandmate and you know, writing together. That, you know, that was some of the funnest things we did.
Okay.
As a really young, you know, first band in my mom's basement, literally, just kind of like writing songs together. I look back at those times and I'm like, that is the best time ever. And then you do shows and you play them and you're like, that's a high in its own. But like going back to like just being in the basement, hanging out, like, check this out.
That creative process.
Oh man, that was like
At its earliest for you.
Oh yeah, definitely taught me how to be a songwriter.
Got it.
For sure.
Got
and
it.
taught me. I mean, working with that first band ever, and we played some wild, fun stuff and had some great songs for sure. But it really taught me how to be a songwriter. Those experiences.
So the genre really is irrelevant. It's the cutting your teeth and getting and diving into it and understanding the process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And I even think the genre back then is who I was back then. You know, it was like,
yeah, got it.
You know, just this young punk, just looking to scream. And then you kind of grow up a little bit, and music finds you differently. You know, when I got later in the year, like before I left where I grew up and kind of left that kind of style of music,
Right.
my mom gave me this B.B. King record. I started getting into blues. I started getting into soul, and just kind of that music just really spoke to me and was you know, I just hear that music and I was like, man, that's
a big turn, though. That's a big, wide turn.
Yeah, but not to me though, because like I know what you mean. It is a big turn genre-wise, but I think it kind of ties. Like even when I was younger and listening to a lot of heavier music, I was listening to it because it made me feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah, right on.
And you know, it made me get something out, or maybe drive my car a little too fast, or you know,
It happens.
you know, and that's all. That's all. I think I was fascinated by music making you feel something. Not to be corny, but then when you get to,
without a doubt,
you get a little older, you get your heart broken a couple times. You start hearing some different kind of music. You start hearing different things, but what you're still getting from the blues and the soul is it's making you feel something, and that is what carried with me, and that's why I want to do music. It's the feeling you get, no matter what that feeling is, anger, love, whatever. The feeling it conveys is what makes me love, certainly listening to music, but also creating music.
Sounds like you're a big fan of music too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the creative thing's one thing, but there's a whole side of you that's a fan.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I
And
mean,
does that make you a better writer?
I think. I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but I hope so. You know, I just want to convey, like I said, making somebody feel something. If I can do that in a song, winner.
So your mother gives you a B.B. King record, I'm guessing late 90s, mid 90s, is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, because I graduated high school in '99. She probably gave me that in '97 or something like that.
So
that kind of led me to Al Green. That kind of led me to Marvin Gaye, and that kind of led me to Otis Redding, and then, you know, on down the road, and Benny King, and just, you know, Percy Sledge, all that kind of stuff. I just went deep dive on that music, and, you know, also found, you know, Hendrix, the Meters, you know, all this totally different thing. And it's not that I was unaware of a lot of it, but just kind of
you weren't focused on it. You weren't concentrating on it.
Yeah, just absorbing in all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, you know, the way I was, picking up a guitar changed. The way I was looking at what I wanted to say in a song changed. Everything kind of changed. And then through that time, I think I did this little solo acoustic record on my own called Ode to the Alaskan Fisherman. And if you know what that, if you're listening and you know what that record is, you're like one of 4 people. But it was kind of my turn from, it was my first turn to, it was more folk.
Okay.
I was kind of getting into like, I think I was buying into like deeper lyrics and stuff for the first time.
Okay.
But it was an interesting time. That was when I was kind of living on my own, just got the IUP, didn't really know anybody, sitting in an apartment by myself a lot and figuring some things out. So that was an interesting time. But I'd love to find that record and share it sometime. It was different.
But you have you have a whole album of material?
It's just like 4.
An EP?
Nah, it's like 4 poorly recorded acoustic songs.
Wait, hold on a second.
This is like me on an iPhone.
That's all right.
I put it out to like one girl.
That's great. That is so great. So, I mean, you play guitar?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, enough to be dangerous, right?
Yeah.
You can do your own folk stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
You like plugging in once in a while?
I do a lot of solo stuff around town. So I'll do like, I'll pick up solo gigs.
Okay, so that I wasn't aware of. So your solo gigs are, you bring your acoustic with you?
Yeah, and most of it, you know what, I kind of treat them like working gigs.
Right on.
You know what I mean?
Right on.
I don't go in and do original stuff.
Right, I understood.
So I'll just go in with an iPad and read charts and sing other people's tunes. And if somebody wants to hear something, I'll take a tip and sing it for them. I mean, you make a couple bucks. And also, like, I doing that, I've done that since I moved to Pittsburgh. And
right.
I'm super, like, working on my voice, working on everything. So I felt, those gigs are just dollars in my pocket and singing songs, so it's good. Yeah.
So there's a band that you're probably going to think I'm crazy, but when I listen to your stuff, there's moments where I hear the live versions of their material more than their studio, and it's the Spinners.
Oh, yeah.
Philippe, I can't remember his last name, was the original lead singer in that band. He passed away midway through their career. But some of their early stuff, the live musical composition and his vocals were so powerful. There's moments when I'm listening to your stuff, I just hear Philippe. I just hear it.
Nice.
It's like, wow. I mean, because that stuff was moving for me. Of course, coming from my folks, early 70s stuff.
Yeah.
But that kind of like, I mean, music's either good or bad to me. Do you feel the same way? I mean, forget the genre. It's either good music or it's just not.
I think that's fair.
I mean, that's pretty broad to say that, but
yeah,
it's hard to describe for me sometimes, like why that like a Spinner song will resonate, but something from Donnie and Marie in the same area won't resonate to me, and it's just it's a feeling, right?
Yeah, I mean, individuals can determine that good and bad, but I think ultimately for everybody, it's you either like it or you don't.
It's personal,
right?
Yeah. So you make this pretty broad turn to initially folk music, and then all of a sudden, I guess I was all
over the place.
I'm trying to understand.
Confused kid.
Okay. But here we are, 2019 going to be 2020, and you got a very defined, a very wide-ranging sound. I mean, there's probably so much of what you dug and what you were influenced by are on these recordings, because I can see that and hear that. But how did, from early 2000s to now, how did we get here? Like, talk to me about, because who was influencing you, really? Or were you finding your own way, maybe?
No, always influenced.
Okay.
I mean, I think you're always influenced whatever you're listening to. But it was like when Sean and I made the transition from a band we were in here in Pittsburgh to forming the Commonheart and writing those songs. It was discussed deliberately what we wanted to sound like, what we wanted to play, because I've always been a believer in, like, when I write a song and it's in its infant state, it has the potential to go a lot of directions, dynamically and genrely. But meaning that if I have a song and let's just say I have some nice words written, I have some basic chords and melodies driving, we can say, I hear this with a little more of an R&B swing on it, or maybe I hear this as a little more of a ballad, or maybe maybe I hear this as kind of a little more of, with a funk backbeat, or those kind of discussions, and you kind of work those, and that's kind of how we wrote the first record. But when we were doing that, we weren't afraid to be like, well, if we're trying to be a rock soul band and we're trying to have a sound with horns and be a certain kind of way and play kind of a retro music and throwback and really focus on, a gravelly voice guy with some nice, singers behind him and big horn section, and go that Otis Redding route and those kind of things. If we're trying to do that, that's not the right path for this song. We should get back to what those songs were in that era. So those kind of discussions where I don't know, I felt they were maturing.
Okay.
You're just kind of like, well, no, you want to market yourself a certain way, then you should sound a certain way.
Okay.
And I also think that that's okay to have those conversations. I think some artists, and it's their right to feel this way, that they might feel that that's unnatural and that's not cool.
Okay.
And that's cool. That's cool. You can think that way. I don't, but it's cool. And that's kind of where we just progressed and kind of grew the sound what is now the Commonheart. And even still, I think our songs still vary in, sound and style, even more so than I might like sometimes. I think when I'm writing the next record now, and I think I'm trying to even hone in more just to what we are. But so I think there was a lot of talk about what we wanted to sound like on the first record, and I never shied away from that conversation. Not to be like, we weren't like, hey, let's record Thrill Is Gone, but we do it. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, if we hear a song and we're playing, I used to write these songs, and like, I love reggae music, right? And I'd get stuck on this song and be like, man, I could sit here and just chuck on this and play this, let's make it a reggae song. And Sean be like, we're not a reggae band, and that's all. I think those are the kind of conversations, like,
right. The
it's
the necessary conversation.
Yeah. It's like, of course you love all music, but I'm not gonna.
You really do. You really do love all music.
But I'm not gonna write a metal song for the Commonheart, because it's just not gonna.
Right.
It's more like broad.
Well, it kind of confuses your audience too, right?
Yeah. So it's like broad stroke stuff is what we really kind of honed down. Stuff on, which is kind of how it grew, and then, and I, looking back, I certainly don't regret that. It's like, I think it's a necessary maturity that we kind of fell into. That's kind of where we're at.
Booker T and the MGs. You've been described of people directly hearing influence straight from Booker T.
We're not afraid of that organ.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No, that's all day. I'm with that organ.
Yeah, there's something about a Hammond organ. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, they're just a special instrument.
They are, and on the metal side, wouldn't you not agree that people they throw lavish compliments on Richie Blackmore of Deep Purple, but in reality, wasn't it Ian Lord or John Lord or Ian Pace? I can't remember who the drummer, but it was really those heavy keyboards that made Deep Purple.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't you agree?
I agree with that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
and then you look at the way Sturgill brought the organ back just like 2 years ago when he had that. I mean, the organ's a beautiful instrument. I mean, it obviously for the genre we're doing, it's almost necessary, but I love when it crosses genres and it's just like a new kind of way to show an organ. But yeah, man, I can't get away from that sound. And I don't know if it's like what I grew up, my mom playing organ in the church, because she wasn't really playing that style. I think it was more I think it was more like when I saw the church in like blues music.
Okay.
I remember I went to Johnstown. I was like 23, or I might get my age wrong, but I went and saw at the Johnstown Flood City Music Festival, Derek Trucks was there, Derek Trucks Band.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I remember I pushed to the front row, Derek's playing, and the organ's going. I just started crying right there. Daytime, I was just like, man, just the emotion the organ pushes through on music is so special. But I love that sound. I don't think I can get away from it.
I remember, I can echo what you just said. I saw Derek Trucks open for Government Mule. I want to say it was 97 or 98 at the Rosebud here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
It's all concrete in there, right? It was the loudest thing I'd ever encountered in my life. I mean, Warren Haynes was from another planet, just the volume alone and the tone. But before that, Derek Trucks was there.
Yeah.
And it was incredibly loud and powerful, but the organ had a sweetness to it like I've just never heard. And it was probably the time, it probably was the moment where I was in the, it was, everything was lined up right.
Right.
But I could never forget that. It was that powerful.
When I saw Derek, that meant like we didn't have the band. I mean, I wasn't even in a band, but I was like,
I think he was like 16 or 17.
Whatever we got to do to get an organ in the band. Please have an organ. It's that country song. You got to have a fiddle. You got to have an organ too.
Talk a little bit about these two charities you're involved with: Spare Change Pittsburgh and the Michael J. Fox Foundation.
Yeah. So I'll start with Michael J. Fox.
Sure.
The drummer Sean in the group, he had a friend who was a very avid climber.
Okay.
An adventurist, if you will, named Dwayne Glader. And Dwayne was climbing Mount Everest.
Wow.
And when he got to the summit, he just kind of felt he didn't feel like himself. Something wasn't right with what was going on.
Okay.
Health-wise. And he was a health nut, and
so
he knew his body.
It was just okay.
He knew something wasn't right.
Okay.
Long story short, he went and got checked out. Found out he had Parkinson's disease. Started to battle it, and started to work with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, raising money to research to cure his disease and others. And then we learned that he was a huge Commonheart fan.
Okay.
Which we didn't really know or have any knowledge of. And lo and behold, on one of his trips to Mount Kilimanjaro, he made a flag with the Commonheart logo on it and flew it at the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. And took a picture. We got a hold of that picture, and then with that picture, we got the story.
Okay.
We learned about Dwayne and his story, and it was just it just really touched me. It touched everybody. I mean, it was kind of crazy to hear.
Right. And
right after I heard that story, I mean, literally 2 days, which is super ironic. This great guy Josh with Spare Change contacted me about working with his organization, who is really a great local group that works with bands here locally and allows them to. They offer up content. We'll help you build content, and we're going to use these buckets and try to collect money at shows for a charity. We'll funnel the money to the charity, but we're going to help you, market your band,
right?
Do different things,
right.
And so
it's a win-win.
It's a win-win, and they're great guys, and I got a great impression right away. And I actually just did his podcast last night, and they got a really good vision, and they got about 10 bands on their roster, and they we just basically have these literal buckets at our shows, and we ask people, hey, if you got $1 in your pocket, throw it in there, and we'll get it to the proper channels.
Absolutely.
So that all, we're looking for a charity, and we decided to, based on the great story we just heard,
great story.
Let's do that. Let's go with Michael J. Fox Foundation, and they kind of got back to us and were really receptive, and they were really psyched about being a part of it. So we had 3 great parties on board, and we had at the AE we had a huge response. I think we're at about $3,800.
Wow.
So far, and we're still trucking too.
And this is just money collected at the shows from fans.
Money's from fans, yeah.
Wow.
We sold some T-shirts too, which helped. Which some people from Dwayne's group put together for us. So, yeah, it's been really good. Just passing around, just being like, hey, we're just trying to do some good things for some people and help any way we can. And it speaks to our narrative too. I mean, we as a band, we really try to lead by example and being positive and and we talk a lot about love in our set, and we talk a lot about respect and being a good person in your community. And we, why wouldn't we do the spare change thing?
Talk to me about that, because you guys have a message, and the message is very positive. And the reason I'm asking you about it is because I can't say that, as a fan of music, that I see that enough.
Yeah. I think it started with, we are obviously we were chasing down a genre of soul and rock, and our songs were about love, and that all made sense. But I think one night I was just kind of just ranting on stage about trying to be a good person, and trying to, respect your neighbor and da-da-da. And that was kind of really just the message of our one song. But I got reception that night, like, where people were just like, they would like say something to me that I'd never really heard before. Like, I like your song, but I really love your message. And that, when I got that reception a few times, I was like, man, that's really nice. And that makes a lot of sense. And that kind of made me feel like people need it.
So we all need it, I think.
So that kind of, it developed into something more than just, a one-time kind of thing that happened. It became part of our show. We have chants about giving love and get it back, and people were just like, they just loved it, and I loved it. I mean, with the whole band, I'd be like, man, that felt really good. Like, this is a good thing. Not to, we're not a political band.
You don't come off as one.
But we need this stuff. There's a lot of turmoil amongst both sides right now, and it's, if we can just get down to like golden rule stuff, and just like, hey, let's just respect each other, and if you see your neighbor needing something, maybe say something, or call your mom tomorrow. I love saying simple stuff like that. It's just like,
no, but it's true.
It's just core love, golden rule stuff.
I think people that enter politics, God bless them, and I wish them the best, because I think people go in with the great intentions, and those that kind of hang around after a while get real jaded because of the system. But we don't do it. And one of the reasons I don't want to do it is because I think that we are wearing our political affiliations as identities now, which is just crazy.
Yeah,
that's not helping society.
No. And I think it just speaks, what we're trying to do with our message is our shows are revivals.
Yeah.
I want to uplift people. And I want them to leave there with smiles. That's my goal every show. And
which
it makes
us
us
essence of music anyways, right?
What's that?
Music's this pure organic expression that really, and let's face it, if you really think about it, maybe you disagree, and please tell me if you do, but the whole genre, the whole labeling of music didn't come from the musicians. It came from the record companies, those who wanted to monetize it for good and bad. But music's music, right? I mean, it's supposed to be a unifying thing. You talk about the feeling of expression you get with those bandmates, like there's a connection there, right? So what you're feeling, you're hoping a little bit of that reaches out to the crowd, I would think.
For sure.
I mean, that's the essence of music. It should be an uplifting, loving, positive thing. Because when I play guitar, I mean, whether it's just for me or whether I was playing for a charity gig, when I was playing, regardless, it was a connection that I had to, I don't know, it's maybe a little esoteric, but it was beyond myself. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I mean,
when you know the room's bigger than you.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. There's a lyricist right there, right? There's a guy that writes songs for sure.
No, it's. I mean, and there's nothing more than getting to that feeling, but then also getting to the next level, which is knowing that the room's bigger than us. And when you do that with an audience, and that's a special place.
Do you feel any responsibility, in a good way, but being that you have a captive audience? Any performer does. And I think sometimes performers, probably because of ego, which is a tough thing, I get it, I think they maybe overstep decency at times, but do you feel any responsibility of having an audience and making sure that they got your best up there, but they also got that positive message from you? Does that ever go through your mind, or is it just an expression of who you are?
I'm conscious of it. I obviously want every audience to feel like, feel positive. More than getting my best isn't really, to me, that's more of just a given.
Okay.
But the way they feel is super important to me. Every room, and there's.
Okay.
I want them. I want them. That's the whole point, right? I want to get to that place where like I feel connected. And I've played shows. They're not all that way. So when when you're fortunate enough to get to a room where you can, where that feeling of this audience is getting it, it's palpable, it's real. Here we are, we're together. That's the dream. And a lot of like being a younger band, which we are, and so we're punching up a lot,
okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going into rooms and earning fans,
sure.
right? So you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that feeling. When we're in Pittsburgh, we get that, because I felt like we've earned it.
Sure.
And it's beautiful, and that's a special. Pittsburgh's a special city for us. It's home. Mm-hmm. It's everything. But where we're in, say, we just did a show in Indianapolis first time.
Right. I saw the photos on your social media.
It was.
You did a fire department there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
Great show, well attended, and the first few songs we had to earn it.
Okay.
No, I bet 80% of the room didn't know who we were.
All right,
and that's fine. That's why we're here.
Challenge, right?
That's why we're here.
Got it.
Halfway through, you get that feeling like we're all here together. We're all here together. It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
And that's what you're working for. And it's I've been in other rooms where you don't get there, or
Okay.
maybe you're having a night, and that's tough. But you still got to do your thing. You got to work hard. And then even those nights, you're probably on your own head about it. But just that you're just getting to that feeling where it's just us, and that's what I crave and want. And if I get there with a room, we all, in my experience, just it's all positive. People leave happy,
mm-hmm.
and we leave happy, and it's good.
You've had a couple national, or at least regional in some instances, but national appearances. You had an appearance in New York City on, I think it was CBS this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. What was that like?
It was weird.
Okay, it was weird. How was it weird?
Let me take that back. It wasn't weird. It was surreal.
Okay.
To see the response, but it was also it was really great in the sense that going there
mm-hmm.
and doing it with an incredible production staff,
right.
The way they handle their business,
right.
It was a very cool experience, and the way that all works and kind of seeing behind the curtain a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, that was cool.
Yeah.
Experiencing that, and then
absolutely
when you get through and you feel good about everything, all right, we got our product, cool, and then that was shot October 9th. It aired November 2nd.
Yeah, that's
so
how
then
it
we
works.
just kind of sat, for a number of weeks, and couldn't really. I mean, our close family knew, but
sure.
we weren't talking about it.
Right.
And I don't want to say I forgot about it, but I almost was kind of like, I wonder what this will do. You don't know. And the reception was just, it was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It was special.
Mm-hmm.
We were charting 3 and 4 on
right.
iTunes.
Right.
It was just like, wow, this is crazy. But it felt really good. Like I'm the dad of the group, and it's in this weird place. Anytime like something big happens for the group, I just feel so good for them.
Got it.
Like, I've seen them
Got it.
suffer.
Right.
You know, I've had to pay them $12, you know,
I understand.
on a night. So to see them see what we've been trying to believe in and do for a few years now, is to see them get it and just be like, oh yeah, you know, I don't know. I get dad moments. I don't have kids, but I kind of do. I get it, at least.
You get it. You get it.
I got grown folk kids.
You do, which may be a whole nother obstacle. Or not obstacle, a whole other challenge to you.
Yeah.
Over the long course.
Yeah.
That's exciting, though. I mean, and I did really like the performances I saw on WGBN in Chicago.
Oh yeah, WGN, that was cool.
WGN.
Yeah, that was cool. What a historic TV station.
Absolutely.
The studio was historic.
With a big reach.
Yeah, it was, and we got instant feedback from that.
I bet.
And we played Chicago that night, and it was a great show, and that was amazing. I love Chicago.
Outside of Pittsburgh, it's a loaded question here for you, but outside of Pittsburgh, what city or cities is starting to really click for you now?
Chicago's great. We feel really good about Chicago. It's a
music town. It's a music town.
Yeah.
Especially blues.
I think we fit there too, because I feel like I've always compared Chicago to Pittsburgh in a way. It's like 10 Pittsburghs.
Well, I know one thing. We all like to eat in both cities, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, the restaurants are unbelievable in both cities.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I know that for a fact.
Another really big city for us has been Denver.
Okay.
And Colorado in general.
That's interesting.
Just received well everywhere we go there. Is
your management company out there?
Yeah. One arm of it is, and overall, like, they're amazing. Madison House there and Jesse Erto, amazing people there, have been really helping us. And but the thing about Colorado as a whole, though, and Denver's awesome, but like even all the different cities.
Well, they're in Boulder, correct?
They're in Boulder.
Right.
But Boulder, Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah, beautiful out there.
Telluride. All these different spots that we've hit. Fort Collins. Colorado's just a music state. There's a lot of music cities in this country. Colorado's a music state. Now,
right.
It's a little harder to get around out there certain times of year.
Sure. Yeah. You think?
Yeah. But, everything that's going on there musically is really well received. Everybody's ready to, everybody's really out for live music a lot, and that's cool. And then we've also done really well in Austin, Texas.
I can see that.
Austin has been really good to us. We went down for South by Southwest a few times.
Get yourself on Austin city limits.
Oh, that's a dream.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
That's a dream.
That's going to happen, pal.
For sure. We hope so. But yeah, it's been good. We're excited what we got coming up in Florida, because
it's the end of the month here. We don't really date these shows, but it's the end of 2019.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. We'll be in Jacksonville. It's sold out, but you can try to come on down. We'll be in Florida. But one of the reasons I'm so excited about the Florida gigs is because we've been traveling with JJ Gray so much.
Right.
She was a Jacksonville native.
Right.
And I know that he has this Florida thing. We've done nearly 35 shows with him.
Wow.
And that we get a lot of Florida feedback on our social media. So it's going to be interesting to see our first kind of Florida full state tour. I think it's going to, I'm excited for it.
There's a lot of Florida-Pittsburgh connections too.
That too. I mean, Pittsburgh's everywhere though, man.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh.
So you find out as you travel?
Pittsburgh is everywhere. And they love coming out and supporting. Coming out in a Steeler jersey.
I bet.
Screaming Pittsburgh. It don't matter where you are. Seattle, Portland, Denver. They're coming out, and it's amazing. I had friends hit me up from Pittsburgh. They'll hit you up on social media and be like, I haven't talked to you since high school, but I saw the band doing well. Can we put you up?
Amazing.
Pittsburgh.
How amazing is that?
Pittsburgh is everywhere.
That's amazing.
Best city in the world.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. I took my son to an Oakland A's baseball playoff game a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And we're walking into the stadium, and he had it's San Francisco. It's Oakland. It's cold in the fall, you know. So we had sweatshirts on and all this stuff, and he had a 412 sweatshirt on, which is 412. the area code. And I can't tell you, while we waited in line to get in, if there wasn't 50, there wasn't one. The people come up to you and said, "Hey, you're from Pittsburgh," and they'd engage in conversation. For our entire 30-minute wait to get into the stadium was basically people coming up and identifying us as Pittsburgh folks, and they all want to talk about the sports, especially the Steelers. But just, it was amazing. And some people were from Pittsburgh, but they saw that 412, and it was an instant recognize. You know, they recognized it immediately, which kind of made you feel good.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it has to feel good on the road, right?
Yeah, you just feel like you're at home. Pittsburgh in the house. Seriously, everywhere we've been, corners of Arizona, California, every state in this country, we're from Pittsburgh. At the very least, we'll get my uncle's from Pittsburgh. At the least.
Yeah, right on. Exactly right. What are some of the favorite places for you to play in town? You probably played in mostly every place in this town at this point in your career. You like the Rex, huh?
I love the Rex. Great room.
Good acoustics there, eh?
Great acoustics.
Yeah.
Love the people there. I love cutting my teeth in Mr. Smalls and doing the things we did there, because I just had a lot of history there. I came up as a young artist, open up for people there.
How about that for a close quarter circumstance, and just like, your audience in your face, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, great room, and I love doing shows at Club Cafe. I feel like it's just like a beautifully intimate room. And you know what? There's a lot of places here. I miss. I haven't got a chance to sing a new Thunderbird.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. I've gone to shows.
Right.
I enjoy it. I missed, like, when I was coming up, we played the old Thunderbird a lot. And now it was a special room.
Yeah.
It was a special room.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now it's an even more special room, and I'm excited to eventually get to sing there. But, I love all those rooms. I love the Smiling Moose.
I do too.
It's a great room.
I do too. Have you seen the new Roxanne? Is it the Roxanne Theater in the Rocks? In McKee's Rocks?
Yep. I saw my good friend Glenn Struther.
Right on.
Open that place up. That's a great room.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think it's gonna be a powerhouse venue here. Give it a year or two.
Yeah.
And
it kind of got super full circle doing AE recently.
I bet.
And
it's a thrill, huh?
It was a thrill.
Just looking at the sea of people there. Pretty amazing.
And I don't think there's just a great group of people that are running that, and so supportive of us, and just like, I could probably speak highly about every venue in this town, man.
Sure.
Just nice people.
Sure.
And it's like everybody's doing it for the right reasons. And
have you ever played? It probably was years ago, but Bar 31 in Bridgeville.
I've drank there. I actually no. My buddy used to. I know that's Kenny Reggett's place.
Yeah,
right?
it's Kenny Reggett's place. Absolutely.
Yep. So I used to go. I had a lot of friends in Bridgeville.
Right on.
And we'd go to Bar 31. And I think I actually sang there once, but just sitting in with a buddy.
Okay.
But yeah, we used to go there and see my one buddy's group called Orlean Gypsy.
Yeah.
Which was a rock band from the Mon Valley.
All right.
And we used to. I just remember we'd always scream to play Great White Buffalo.
A little nooge.
Dude, get it right.
All right, what's on tap for 2020 for you folks?
Third record.
That quick?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then
any live tracks on that record? I'm just throwing an idea out there. And when you do it, I'm going to bring you back on and say, hey, remember when I said to you for the live track?
I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. No, yeah, I'd love to do a live record. It could be
just a track or two. Can you do that? Is it how do record companies view that stuff? Are live records even a thing anymore?
I think you have to be deeper in the game than us.
Okay.
If I'm being honest.
Okay.
We're still young, and we're
understood.
So I think that once you get to a position of power, you can do what you want.
Right.
But when I think when you're at our stage, which is a band, I would just say a band in development, and we're still trying to reach our audience and grow it. I think it's important that we continue doing finding the right studio tracks, and a live record is going to happen in my life, but I don't know if it'll be the next step.
Understood. Understood. And more touring next year?
A lot more touring. We're gearing up for spring, getting the dates together. A lot of exciting things are in the horizon, and we're just going to be probably writing and recording our records through the early part of the year, and we're going to try to get it out as soon as we can, hoping for fall.
All right.
Just a lot of touring, a lot of keep it moving.
Well, that's pretty quick to come back with a new record. That's pretty good.
We're too
material pretty much written.
Yeah, I'm pretty well along. We're kind of in like a pre-production phase. A lot of the songs are being kind of being arranged and discussed in my mind. So, but I do have a lot of material, a lot of strong material, and we're we got to get it going. And I feel like it's got to come that fast.
Okay.
We haven't ate yet.
Got it.
Maybe an appetizer was had, but we got to get to dinner.
All right. My friend, I appreciate this.
Oh, it was great.
Did you have a good time?
I did.
Yeah, this is and you come back and see me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think on a regular basis. This is good stuff.
Yeah, because this is only episode 60.
60, yeah. You are 60. You're 6'0".
I want to come back for 120.
How about quicker than that, pal?
Oh, no, I'm ready. Have me back, man. I'm ready.
Clinton Clegg, The Commonheart, thecommonheart.com, Facebook, every social media they're on there. You got to check these folks out. God bless them. And thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
You are an air of positivity, and you're a fresh breath of air in a music scene that is really amazing in this town. But overall, you are the future. And thank you.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. God bless y'all. What do you think, pal?
Good, man. How you feel?
Was it comfortable and everything?
Yeah. How you feel?
I feel great.
You've done 59 of them. You got to tell me.
Dude, that was, you're so...